nonprofit advocacy group of St. John's River.
And our mission is to help protect the river.
Hello and welcome once again to the St. John's Riverkeeper Show. I'm Jimmy Orth, the Executive Director of St. John's Riverkeeper, and I'm here with my co-host, the infamous, if you will,
That's right.
St. John's Riverkeeper himself, Neil Armingjon.
Hey Jimmy, how are you?
Good, and you know, Neil, this is really a very special show that we're going to be doing today, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, folks, but this will be Neil's last show as our St. John's Riverkeeper, and we're going to, on the show today, talk about Neil's really incredible career that he's had here at St. John's Riverkeeper, coming on 9 years at the end of January, and we're going to talk about that and get Neil's thoughts and memories and
absolutely.
highs and lows, Neil.
That's right.
About how this job has been. First, though, we always start off the show. I like to let folks know out there know a little bit about our organization, because some people might not know who St. John's Riverkeeper is and what we do. Neil, you want to tell them a little bit about that?
Sure. We're a citizens group whose focus, obviously, is the St. John's River. We are a membership-based organization. We're based here in Jacksonville, but we work with people up and down the entire 310-mile length of the river, lobbying for or trying to get protection policies, and occasionally, holding people accountable. But, Jimmy, our job has always been to take care of our greatest natural resource, the St. John's River.
Yeah, and we've always we like to think of ourselves as an independent voice of the St. John's River. A lot of people have the misconception that this organization is part of a government agency or funded by government agencies, but we're actually privately funded by folks like you who value having an advocate representing your interests and the interests of the river. So if you're interested in our work, I would encourage you to go to our website. I think they said today we're not going to have the website up on the screen because of some technical difficulties, but I will tell you, it's stjohnsriverkeeper.org, and you can Google us and look for the website, but we have a lot of information on our website about what we do as an organization, the issues that are impacting the river, events that we have where you can get involved and learn about the river and also celebrate the St. John's, and also how you can join. That's really important. As a privately funded organization, we depend on you and your support to make this work possible. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in what we do and supportive of this work, please become a member by going to our website. You can learn about how to do that very easily on the site. And also, we, Kelly Savage isn't here, but I have to say, also following us on Facebook. Kelly, who is our outreach director, who actually just moved back home, we're sad to say, she did such a great job of building our social media platform and Facebook, and that's a great way to follow what's going on, and really on a daily basis. We have a new person that's now doing that, but you can always just like us on Facebook and follow what we're doing on a daily basis, but also become a member. So go to the website and you can learn a whole lot more. Today, though, we're going to focus on Mr. Neil Armingjon. It's the Mr. Neil Armingjon Day on the show.
I'm sure people out there are excited about that.
Well, I know they are, because Neil, as I mentioned, has been our St. John's Riverkeeper for 9 years, and it's hard to imagine. I came in a year after you. So we've been working together for 8 years and been doing this show together for quite some time as well.
No, Jimmy, it's I tell people, some days it seems like I just started, some days it seems like 900 years, but it's flown by, and it's been a great time. We've made a lot of progress. We've, as an organization, have gone a long way on many levels. When I started, Jimmy, 2003, I was the second St. John's Riverkeeper. My predecessor, Mike Hollingsworth, I always kind of describe Mike as the guy who was given a box of parts and said, okay, now build a car out of it. So I came in February 2003. We had a very small staff. It was just myself and Katie Breen. and we were at an office at Jacksonville University, and we felt like what we were doing was important, and I think today, 9 years later, I know this community believes what we do is important, and I think people view the river differently. I think that's one of the things that I'm very proud of. I think there was a kind of an evolution of people looking at the river differently. Bill Belleville, I think 2001 or 2, produced a book called River of Lakes, and I think that book and then the kind of creation of Riverkeeper helped focus not just Jacksonville, but people up and down the river on this great body of water.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, working with you, Neil's been, it's been a tremendous experience. I've learned a lot from you, and I think we've learned a lot together.
Yeah.
And it's had some great experiences, right. And it's been fun. I know, looking back, when I came on in February 2004, a year after Neil started, and here again, it was just Neil and I, a staff of 2. Now we're fortunate we have 6 people working for the organization.
Yeah.
Now we've moved it from a one-room office with a 2. I always joke about the early days where Neil and I for several years worked with 2 desks pushed together and a phone in the middle, and one of us is in the corner on a cell phone trying to hear while the other one's talking on the landline.
We had a air conditioner that sounded like a jet. So, sometimes people were like, what is that noise? Oh, excuse me a minute. And you walk over across the room and would cut the air conditioner off.
But I think that what that speaks to is that we've been able as an organization to work with limited resources, right, to engage people in this process and build our organization. Right. The organizational structure has grown. We've got more people. We're now in the Jacksonville University new Marine Science Research Institute, which is a fabulous facility. And so the organization's grown, but I think that's a testament a lot to the work that you've done, Neil, in helping to get people behind the St. John's and behind St. John's Riverkeeper, and joining us in this effort to elevate the profile of the river, but also to start really getting serious about addressing these issues.
Well, and Jimmy, I've always felt like one of my jobs was to ask the question, how will this decision impact the health of the river? And I think now, there was a lot of debate last couple of months about a resolution before the Jacksonville City Council on the Georgia Pacific Pipeline. And I think one of the things that we've been able to do as an organization is really elevate that simple question: how will what we're discussing today, or how can we better protect the river? And that is, last night I want to thank the community of Green Cove Springs. The mayor and the city council, I was invited down, and they presented a nice proclamation. But one of the things that I talked about and the people of Green Cove Springs agreed with, the river is so critical to all of us, who we are as a people, our economy, our literally just our quality of life. And I think Green Cove Springs, it's a small town, but its most identifiable feature is the river. And so I want to thank that community. They have been with us on many issues. Green Cove and a lot of small communities up and down the river were with us on the water withdrawal battle, which we talked about many times on this show. So Jimmy, through the years, I think even people who may not always agree with what our decisions, I think they certainly agree that what we're about is a cleaner, healthier St. John's River.
Well, Neil, what would you, kind of looking back over your career, what would you say were some of the highlights? If not, you may even have a kind of favorite moment or something that you're most proud of that you've accomplished.
Well, I think just overall, generally, how the organization has grown. We had many battles. Many people watching this might remember the famous Freedom Commerce battle. A lot of times there will be victories without any concrete, real, view of it. That was a battle with a lot of other people in this community to save the headwaters of Pottsburg and Julington Creek.
That was probably one of the first issues you jumped into,
right?
I would imagine.
And it was something that I think we look back on it now, and it was the first time I think this community kind of as a whole stood up and said, wait a minute. You know, this was a development issue that would have paved 270 acres of wetlands, including the headwaters of Pottsburg and Julington Creek. We filed a legal challenge. We were not totally successful in that, but I think that kind of gave the Water Management District a different view of it. There was a denial of a wetland permit by the Army Corps, but the bottom line is all but 32 acres of that area has been put in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that kind of, I think, started to define Riverkeeper and who we are, at least during your tenure. Right. And then also one of my favorite memories, which is one of my first, literally first experiences, is what became infamously known as Condom Creek. Right. And yes, I did say condom. I apologize, folks out there, but that is what it became known as because of some things that were floating in the water. Because of, but tell a little bit about that, because that was an interesting story.
You know, we a lot of the work that we do, people call us. And, you know, we also have boat patrols, but this fisherman called me and said, I was fishing in a little tributary of the Ortega River, and there were a lot of unmentionables floating by, and, you know, you kind of thought, oh, that's impossible. I took the Riverkeeper boat, and we couldn't get in, and so finally one of our members, we had a canoe, and remember David Scott?
That was actually my canoe, actually.
Yeah, Jimmy and I got in a canoe, and one of our members helped us kind of travel the long distance, and once we got there, exactly what that gentleman said was happening, and what it was a broken wastewater pipe leading from a JEA facility that was supposedly taking the wastewater under the Ortega River, under NAS into the river. It had been broken, we later discovered, for 5 years, Jimmy. And so the plant was not operating properly, and there were, you know, bad things, high bacteria, and that was another kind of first for us. We stood up and said, this is wrong. I think the community was shocked to learn that was going on, and we, you know, followed I guess one of our first Clean Water Act cases and reached a settlement with JEA. And the good news, a pipe that had been broken for 5 years, the plant was upgraded, and that pipe was done in less than 4 months. And so once again, I think that demonstrated to the community that we're willing to do whatever it takes to protect the St. Johns and its tributaries. The Ortega River is one of the most historic rivers in this community, and as all rivers and streams, deserves protection.
Well, it was interesting on that issue because I think you just said, we'll do anything that it takes to protect the river, and that was a perfect example of, I can remember getting the phone call from Neil. Neil, I was his assistant that day, because there is two of us working for Riverkeeper at the time, calling me up and saying, meet me over there, Jimmy, with your canoe. And we're calling the press, and we're getting them out there because we were not getting a good response or a sufficient response from JEA and the DEP. So we said, we're going to take the media out there and show them what's going on. And here we are out paddling in a canoe with a cameraman with his camera in our canoe and taking them up in there.
And you know, that day there was, you know, I think the model was, you know, someone who was concerned about this, didn't know who to call, they called us. And you know, there was something recently in the paper, there's something called sanitary sewer overflows, and you know, JEA runs a very large system, and through the years they've had a lot of something called SSOs, where broken sewer lines discharge into tributaries of the river. And I think when I first started, that number